Welcome to the Forum, your way to keep up with state and community leaders, experts, and local business leaders. This is your chance to hear from and talk to people that affect your life right here in Rim Country. You can express your opinions by calling 474-2427. And remember, the comments and opinions of guests and callers are not necessarily the opinions of KMOG. Welcome to Rim Country Forum. And the forum is brought to you by Dana Law Group, Banner Health, Payson Medical Center, Pinnacle Propane, Realty Executives, Arizona Territory, Owens Law Firm, and Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration. Good morning. Mike Farrell and Debbie is going to stick around and help us here on the forum this morning. All right, and our special guest today, let's welcome Pat Stockett to the forum. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, tell us, your title is?
I'm an information officer with the Backbone Fire here on the east side around Pine and Strawberry.
Okay. Now, are you taking Mike Reichling's place?
So
now?
Yes, sir. We are.
He's on to another fire?
We work 14 days at a time, and then we do what we call timing out.
Oh.
And we go home, we get some rest, we reset, we get ready for our next assignment. So my hat is 14 days, and I still have time to go.
Okay.
Well, he worked very hard, and he deserves some time off.
Mike has been very, very busy working for the community and for the fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he'll be going to a new fire. Now, we are obviously not the number one fire in the nation anymore, right?
That is correct. We are starting to reduce some of our resources because our fire activity is low and other fires have higher activity. So we're moving some of our crews out to hire more active fires.
Is the highest fire in the nation, is it in Arizona, or where is it? Do you know?
I did not check the morning update for that yet this morning.
But we have like 20-something fires here?
We have over 20 named fires. Over 250,000 acres have been burned.
Ooh.
Okay. Pat, can we just introduce you pretty much to our audience? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where were you born?
So I was actually born in Kentucky, and I currently live in southeast Georgia. And we come from all over the United States. When the call comes out for help, we come from everywhere.
Okay.
Is this the first time you've been in Arizona?
Yes, this is my first Arizona trip, and it is absolutely wonderful out here.
Aha. Have you seen other places besides the fire area?
I was lucky enough to go through Pine and Strawberry, checking on some of the activities up there, some of the closures. I was up there immediately prior to the reset order and just kind of looking at everything going on, and it is absolutely beautiful country out here.
Yeah, it is. We're pretty proud of it.
Okay, so how long have you been with the Forest Service?
I have been here on the incident for 8 days, and I have been in fire control off and on for 15.
Wow. Were you on the ground firefighter for a while, or?
So my day job at home is I'm a heavy equipment operator. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm normally the one on the bulldozer cutting the fire breaks and working on expanding lines, and so I'm normally on the front line.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's a lot of fun. It's very rewarding. And here as an information officer, I can help people understand why sometimes we do things, why we can put equipment in certain places, but we can't in others.
Aha.
Makes sense. Well, I think the management of the fire has been just tremendous. I think is it Alan Sinclair, I think is the name of the guy who directed all this,
Yes,
right?
sir. Our incident commander.
Incident commander. Well, he's done a wonderful job. Now, what's going to happen with the people who are involved in fighting the fire right now?
So we are going to, in the next few days, be turning it back over to the local offices. And they will still stay staffed. They will still be here. They will still be doing operations, but it will be significantly scaled down.
So this is the Tono National Forest and the town of Pine and Strawberry and Payson, or?
Yes, and the operations will still, and the monitoring will still continue along 260 into Camp Verde. There will be flights. There will still be a lot of activity, just not as much as residents have seen recently.
And of course, we can't forget the Sheriff's Office and DPS. They've been playing heavy roles in this whole thing.
This has been a phenomenal community effort, from sheriff to the mayor to DOT, DPS. There's every facet of the community is involved in this fire and planning and restructuring.
And our county supervisor, Steve Christensen,
for
too,
sure.
has been on the job all the time.
He has been a busy man.
Yep.
And the evacuation center and all the volunteers and the animals have been taken care of. This has been just a big, huge project.
Yes, it is. There's thousands that have been involved in this fire, and it makes me smile that the seamless community effort, all the different organizations and cooperators that have been involved.
Right. So have most of the evacuees, and how about from the shelter, from the high school dome, have they all gone home?
We are checking on that this morning.
Okay.
When we were there yesterday, most folks had packed up and were working on plans to go home, and those that had their animals in the shelter or were working to get them back and start traveling.
You know, a local veterinarian we have here that handles livestock and large animals, Dr. Justice, he said he has not met one of his clients that is not keeping horses, goats, whatever for people up there in the Pine Strawberry area. So a lot of them probably are going to hesitate on just yet. 'Cause aren't they still in the set mode?
That is correct.
So
yes, Pine and Strawberry are remaining in set because we do have fire activity. There is potential depending on the weather and terrain, but the overall decision has been made that it is safer for folks to return home as long as they understand that there is a chance that things may change for various reasons, including the monsoon rains coming in. So we just want to make sure everybody's prepared.
Right.
Well, there's going to be more lightning strikes, that's for sure. One thing we can always count on during the monsoon, and we're going to have a very active period coming up here. Now, how does that affect the fire?
So when the thunderstorms roll in, they bring a lot of winds with them. And the problem with that is you can have what we call outflow winds that are anywhere from 20, 40, 60 miles an hour. And it can cause fire to go in 360 degrees direction.
Oh, wow.
So that's another reason the communities are staying in set, because we do have those thunderstorms and the monsoons coming.
So tell me, I think I heard you talking yesterday about the black line.
Yes, our containment line.
Yes.
So what that means is the fire edge is cold, that there is no activity, that it meets certain criteria that says, okay, we're confident that fire is not going to come past that line. And today we're up to 43%.
And did I hear that it's mostly around Strawberry?
There has been a large portion around Strawberry that the containment has gone up around.
Great. Well, that's good news.
It is good news. And it's, and that's another reason that the evacuation orders have been lifted and everybody's going back to set.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, not exactly on that subject for just a second. Let's back up. We had a little confusion earlier about the Blattner pit. Let's get that clarified.
Yes,
all right?
I'm sorry. The wrong spot played. Last week's spot.
What's
the
the
wrong
spot?
number played. Commercial. The wrong commercial played. I have one that was supposed to play today, but I've been a little bit busy, so I hope I'm allowed a few mistakes. The Blattner pit is closed until further notice. The
only place you can take your green brush and waste right now is the Buckhead Mesa landfill on Highway
Right.
87. That is opening up now.
Yes,
Today.
Steve Christensen told us he believed it was open today.
But you have a 45-mile-an-hour limit
Correct.
going up that highway right now, Highway 87, and you can go as far as Strawberry.
The other side of Strawberry.
Right now.
Yeah.
Right?
So the current closure is at mile marker 270.5. Now, with some of the crews removing all those sprinklers and hose assemblies and some of the chipping operations moving out, we do expect some road closures to adjust today. So we're encouraging everyone to visit Arizona511.com for the most current closures and openings, because everything is changing. Everything, as one section is done doing their operations, they move to other areas. So everything's pretty fluid.
But I understand they're still, 511 is still saying Highway 87 north out of Payson is closed.
That was my understanding right before I got here.
Okay, but we all know it's open.
To the other side of Strawberry. Yeah, I was wondering about the burn area the burn out area that they did at where you have the turnoff for Camp Verde.
Yes.
Is that all completed and they're not working there anymore? Or?
So there is some mop-up operations where if there's anything smoking or smoldering, we have crews going in by hand with water trucks and engines, making sure that edge is cold, that we have that containment line.
Okay.
So crews will still be in the area.
But you're thinking possibly, of course, it's all up to ADOT, right?
Correct.
To open the highway, so we really don't know. But maybe by this weekend, people will be able to go to Prescott to the.
Okay. Hey, we've got a caller on the
rodeo.
line here, Pat. Hello, caller. You're on the forum.
Yes, good morning. Hey, I got a couple of questions. One is, when you guys map the area where the fire is, do you keep those maps for future reference, like how the wind was acting and the terrain and how the fire ran from spot to spot? So, in future reference, it would be handy to have that kind of information. I don't know if you do that or not. And is there any good that comes out of a fire? Like, what good came out of this fire for the next time, like a lightning strike around the area? Is it safer now in that area? I know a fire can come from any direction, but I was just wondering if all of that, materials that was laying out there, all that fuel is gone now, so it's a better chance for those areas to survive. And how long does it take for it to become fuel again to cause a big fire? How many years will it take for that to grow back and become dangerous again? Those are my questions. Thank you. Good show, and thank you for everything you're doing to save us.
So to answer your first question, regarding the mapping and archiving all the information, every day we construct something called an incident action plan. That is our maps, our weather, fire behavior, and all of that goes into a recording system. And we do what's called an after action review after every fire, so that we can look at, what worked, what didn't work. We used this technique on this terrain. Was it effective? Was it not? So every fire, we do our best to learn something about what works, what doesn't, improve our techniques, and just see, what we can do even better for the next fire. As far as the regeneration rate of the vegetation and the trees and all of that on the ground, over the next few years, everything will start growing back. As far as when it becomes a hazardous fuel, again, really depends on your snow season and how stressed the trees and the vegetation are. Do you have a heavy monsoon season? So that can vary, but over the next few years, you will see the vegetation growing back.
Okay. And what kind of vegetation are we talking about there?
There are light grassy fuels. There's some standing pine trees. In my travels, I've also seen a lot of storm damaged trees, a lot of dead trees, and those do tend to ignite faster than anything because they can't hold the moisture and they can't sustain themselves at the higher temperatures. So those dead and down fuels, once they're dry, do stand a better chance of igniting than some of the growing vegetation.
The last time I drove to Prescott, I was just amazed when I got on the top of the rim how many trees were just totally stressed. And I'm talking the ponderosas and, of course, the oak, too. But it was really distressing to me because the trees were so distressed. It looked very dangerous for a fire. It almost looked like a bark beetle attack. And I haven't heard about the bark beetles being around lately, but are they? Do you know?
I don't have any information on the bark beetles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but they looked, turning colors and that they shouldn't be.
Yes, and I've noticed that while I've been traveling too. And the local units, local forests, are aware of all of that. And over time, they do develop management plans and fire management plans to help mitigate some of that. So there is work being done.
Okay, and if you want to call with any questions, just give us a call at 2427. Pat would be very happy to answer your questions. She's very knowledgeable.
474-2427. If you're out of state, 928-474-2427. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and once again, if you have calls for Pat, give us a call, 474-2427. We'd be glad to answer some of these questions that you have about fighting the fire. I think it's extremely interesting what you've done and how you've done it and why you've done it, and you've done a great job, that's for sure.
Well, thank you. It's a group effort. We have different divisions and groups on the fire that have different skills and abilities, different equipment, everything from hand lines to the big mulchers to chippers, engine crews, dozers, masticators. This is a large-scale effort with very targeted objectives and techniques.
And how many hotshot crews do we have on this fire?
I don't have a current count on that this morning because we've had so many changes. Right. Some crews have moved out to other fires. There will be hotshot crews remaining. Some of the more local guys will be remaining to assist the local offices.
But how many did we have at one time?
I know at one time there was 17, I believe possibly more.
And in each crew there's about how many guys? Like 15 or something, maybe?
I believe so. 15 to 20, depending on the crew.
It was like the Granite Mountain Hotshots. That anniversary is coming up Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah, Wednesday. And the Dude Fire was last Saturday. And both of those fires...
The anniversary.
The anniversary of those fires are, and... We lost people and homes and all kinds of things in those fires, and we haven't lost anything in this fire. It's just fantastic.
And unfortunately, from those tragedy fires that we call them, when lives are lost, when injuries happen, there is a large multi-year review, and every action is looked at heavily because we do our best. We do everything we can to avoid getting hurt, to avoid catastrophe and injury. And when something like that happens, the fire community takes a pause.
Yes.
And we take a deep, deep look at what happened while we're grieving to see what happened, what can we do so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. I can't talk about either of those fires without crying. It's...
So, I think in the Yarnell fire, wasn't there a real problem with the communications, with the radios and things? And they, I think, have found a way around that now. But I think that was a problem. Or maybe it was just in the movie.
A big problem was the wind changes and all that kind of stuff. I was in Prescott when that happened. And I was driving through that storm, and it was just an incredible storm that went through Prescott. And the rains seemed to go to the west. Well, they all collected in Prescott. They met up. It was just a terrifying storm that I was driving in. And the winds kept going to the south. And I don't think they got many rains on that fire, and it just turned around, didn't it? It
was, and that's why when thunderstorms come up, that's one of the reasons we're so careful and why we talk about outflow winds and why we have spotters and aerial forces. But sometimes, despite the best planning, nature has other decisions, and it's a tragedy, and it's a very tragic outcome.
Yeah.
One thing, you said you were a bulldozer or heavy equipment operator. I think in this particular instance, getting that line around Strawberry very early there, the first day of the fire, was just monumental. And they were able to get in there with heavy equipment and make that happen. Now, I have heard, and I don't know, this is my question, in some areas you can't take, because it's a wilderness area, you can't use the heavy equipment?
That is correct. And heavy equipment is good in certain terrains. Bulldozers on rocks and mountains, they tend to slide. They don't, it's not safe to put that equipment. So that's where our hot shots, our hand crews, and our engine crews come in. They can dig line by hand. They can fall trees with chainsaws. They can manually create a line that will slow and potentially stop fire progression. And it's a very, very labor-intensive process. But having the heavy equipment, we can jump on that, and we can advance the control lines a little bit faster, but we have to use the correct tool for the correct environment and habitat.
Okay, makes sense. But, gosh, that really ties the hands, I think, of the firefighters in some of these wilderness areas, if that's the case.
It is a
Can't
challenge.
they make an exception?
Well, it really just depends on the terrain, because out here, a lot of those wilderness areas aren't suitable to put the heavy equipment in. You have too many rocks, you have too great of a slope, that if we put the heavy equipment in, unfortunately, it is going to tumble downhill, and we will have a tragedy on the fire. So, but we also have aerial resources, we have different foams that we can use, and the different crews and the different techniques again. Everybody here has a particular skill set. And some of that is for the rock faces, for those extreme slopes. Those people are trained very well for what they do, and they're very efficient at what they do.
Okay. When they built that line around Strawberry, in that area there, what did they do? I know they cut a lot of brush. Did they haul that brush out of there?
Some of the brush was hauled out, and in some places, chippers were brought in. And basically, it just turned to mulch. So if the fire did get into it, you're talking a flame height of 3 to 4 inches, not treetop levels, not 8-foot flames. So it's something that could be handled by ground crews and simple bucket drops or engine crews.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
I just saw yesterday. I saw a helicopter getting a bucket and taking it from our airport here. So. Where are they refilling? Are they still using the Verde River mostly?
Yes, that's one of our dip sites, as we refer to them as. And you will still see the aerial operations. They are flying drones with infrared, and they're looking for hot spots. So the different helicopters are going to be doing the bucket drops in the area where the infrared shows hot spots or where there's a small smoke plume. So that's definitely still a very active part of the fire.
Okay. Other than that, since they have the cold line established, they're going to kind of just let it probably burn.
So there are some interior pockets that are going to continue to burn. They're well within the fire, and residents will see some smoke from this fire for quite some time, while some of those areas continue to burn out.
Is that the smoke we're smelling here this morning?
So there's smoke coming from a lot of different fires in the area.
Okay.
And we did get some phone calls last night about the smoke in the area and watching the sun turn pink. Mm-hmm. And that was a combination of smoke, not only from our fire, but from all the surrounding fires and the different weather changes. It brought all that smoke back down into the atmosphere.
Very good. Okay, got a call coming in here. Hello, caller. You're on the forum.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. This KMOG?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, do you know if the Buckhead Mesa landfill opened back up after the road opened back up?
Yes, it is. It's open now.
I'm sorry?
Yes, sir. It's open.
It is open?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. And remember, they have restrictions on that road, 45-mile-an-hour speed limit.
I don't care. If that landfill's open, that's all that matters to me.
Okay.
Right.
All right, yeah, that's the important information, and the highway is open to the landfill, and the landfill was good enough to call us this morning and say, yes, they are operating. All right, 474-2427, if you have a call, we're ready to handle it. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and in case you just joined us, we have Public Information Officer Pat Stockett here from the Incident Management Team handling the Backbone Fire. And Pat, you have been good enough to kind of share your knowledge that you have on fighting fires and what is going on with the fire. So a change of personnel is happening, a change of management is happening. The fire is 43% contained at this point. Our total acreage burned, I think, is just over 40,000 acres.
41.
No structures, no human life has been lost in this fire. Boy, that is all good news, you know. And our residents in Strawberry and Pine are back in their homes and still on the ready mode that if they do have to leave again, because, you know, it's crazy, but we could have a fire even on the other side of the highway from a lightning strike. Probably it's good that we have everybody up there fighting the fire in case one of those does start up real quickly. I know in the past, if they are able to get to it and get it out right away, that solves most of the problem. And that has happened with a bunch of small fires that we've had here in the area. We had one
especially when they're right off the highway, because it's from dragging chains or a cigarette.
Yes.
You can get to them.
As dry as it is out here, yes, there's a lot of different things that can cause fires. And I mean, even parking a hot car in tall grass.
Right.
We've seen that, unfortunately, start fires before.
That was our big fire last year.
Yeah, the bush fire started that way. Yeah. Hello, caller. You're on the forum. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mike. I was just wondering, I know you do the burns by acres. Did it ever get large enough you do it by square miles? And I'll listen to what you got to say.
Did you understand the question there? I'm not quite sure I got it all.
Normally we report the fires in acres because that's what most people will understand, and it goes into some different calculations that we have. I do not have a calculation on actual square miles with me.
Okay, so you just go by acres.
Correct.
Makes sense. All right, caller? Yeah, he's gone. Okay, so that was mainly what he wanted to know, I think.
Have you driven around on the highways surrounding the fire? What can you see from the highways?
What I've seen from the highways is a lot of work, a lot of crews, limbing, fuel reduction, things. There's been a lot of work, and things are looking really good. There's where fire would run up the hill and hit a road, all of that has been brushed back. And a lot of what we call mitigation has gone on, where we limb up trees, we reduce fuels, some of the back burning operations. It's another way to reduce the fuel so that if the fire had gone that far and made a run, it would run into what had already been burned in a controlled fashion, and there'd be nothing left to catch.
So what do the back burn areas look like?
The back burn areas are very clean. You can see a great distance where all that underbrush has been burned out.
And it's just the underbrush?
It's the underbrush, correct.
Okay, that's great. I was trying to figure out, are some of these big ponderosas gone, or is it just the underbrush?
No, as folks drive through the area, they may see some of the big trees that have some soot on the side of them. Where vines and other taller trees have been next to them, it may have flared up, but it wasn't at the intensity to kill the large trees.
Oh, great.
So we didn't really lose a lot of large trees in this particular fire?
Not in the backburn area.
Not in the backburn.
Okay.
In the larger area, depending on fire intensity, unfortunately, there will be some of the larger trees lost.
Okay.
Well, yeah, for sure. So this is our anniversaries. Actually, Mike and I just bought the radio station when the Dude Fire happened, and that's the anniversary of that was this past Saturday. And this town went through a lot on the Dude Fire. It was the first really major fire that they had had for a long time, and the town just pulled together. Aside from the loss of the firemen and the homes, 66 60-something homes.
60-some dwellings, I believe.
Yeah, we lost, and our firemen, and that was so sad. But the town pulled together, and we got through this. And actually, it doesn't look that bad when I see, remnants of the past fires we've had.
Yes,
it doesn't look so bad, but
in time, nature will heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
For those that have lived here their whole lives, they will notice a change. Things grow back a little bit differently. The large trees may not be as large, but nature will heal itself.
The really bad thing that seems to happen, I think, is the erosion, is that the change in the whole area that happens when you have the trees gone and the water just runs wherever.
So, yes, unfortunately, when there are large-scale fires and the vegetation and the trees and the shrubs are gone, the roots aren't there to hold the ground. So unfortunately, when you have large heavy rains like monsoon season, there can be an issue with some mudslides. Out here, you guys naturally have rock slides. So when you add all of that together, residents, even after the fire, need to be mindful that there can still be events happening after the fire.
How are things going on the other side of the fire towards Camp Verde?
So the Camp Verde area, the west side, is pretty much back to normal.
Really?
Yes. So the weather that we had was moving the fire towards the north and northeast for the most part. Mm-hmm. We did have times where the weather would push it back, what we call, it pushes back on itself. So the wind pushes the flames and the heat and the activity back into the body of the fire. And that can be advantageous at times. It just depends on what the different factors in weather and terrain are.
What about the Fossil Creek area?
For more information on that specifically, folks need to go to the Forest Service.
Oh, okay.
So we don't have any exact detailed information on that since that is part of the Forest Service.
I see. Yeah, because I had heard some things from different people that it had burned a lot and it was going to be so different. But
well, and I know there have been in the past few years a lot of efforts to go back to native vegetation. There's been work done in the creeks and the streams to get back to the natural flora and fauna out there. With those efforts, the natural vegetation will always regenerate faster and more healthy than the exotics and the stuff that shouldn't necessarily be there. Some exotics, of course, will grow faster than the native, but we're optimistic that with all that restoration work done in the last few years, that the native species will come back quickly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's really quite interesting how the forest regenerates itself. I guess for centuries, our area here was maintained pretty much because of the lightning strikes and then the fires burning low and not threatening the big trees and just clearing all of that stuff out.
Yes, that's correct. Different areas, different communities are what we refer to as fire maintained. That lightning strikes will naturally occur. They're small fires. There's low intensity. They burn for a certain area, a certain time period, and then put themselves out. So that when there's another lightning strike, kind of burns into other areas. Different land use over the last years, different habitat changes has changed that fire intensity, and it's changed the way fire behaves.
Stopping the logging. We stopped the logging around here, and so the forests weren't able to keep taking care of themselves like that because they were getting too big, too overgrown.
And any significant management changes like that will affect different dynamics within the ecosystem.
Do you think there's any way they're going to return to more logging to help control the forests?
That will be a local decision that has to be made.
Has to be made.
It's whether to keep the current logging operations, increase them, decrease them. That's all up to the locals to decide what is best for the area, the economy, and everyone involved.
If you have any questions, give Pat a call, 474-2427.
Yeah, that used to be our main industry here, was logging and a sawmill. that we had here in town. And with the price of lumber these days,
Yes.
wish we kind of had it there, you know. That's the only thing. All right, and most of the construction that was done around here, of course, was done out of wood. And we used to have fires regularly, burning down saloons and hotels and all that type of thing, you know?
Yes, our town history has a lot of burned down saloons.
Oh my.
So nowadays the battle rages on between a lot of the environmental groups and others who say, hey, it's time to get in there and get this cleaned up. Let us cut some of the trees. What about the using goats to eat this brush that cows won't eat, or no other animals will eat the salt cedar, that type of thing?
So you have to look at management of that type of that brush, both at a small scale and a large scale. When you look at community fire control, when you talk about firewise, when you talk about all these different management techniques, that something small like a goat may not be able to elicit the big habitat change that is desired to reduce those fuels. There are different techniques that you can use. Back home, some people have tried alpacas, but it's definitely on a small scale. These are private landowners. These are, very small scale. But when you're talking community wide, when you're talking 100,000 acres, 200,000 acres, a larger management plan has to come into effect with multiple techniques and different applications, and all the stakeholders have to come together and come to a decision about what's feasible, what's not, what's affordable, what's not, what will give the desired result.
So the Tano National Forest, when they take over, are their headquarters going to be like here at the horse camp? Do you know?
I believe they're going back to their local offices and will be operating out of there.
Oh. Okay.
Now, you will still see crews in the area. There will still be activity in the area, and folks traveling will still see the buggies. They'll still see some of the engines, but it'll be in a much smaller scale.
So this is supposed to be a total containment. They're not going to stop until they get it completely out, right? Is
Total,
that what that means?
What we refer to as 100% containment can take weeks, can take months. When we move from a large-scale operation like currently to the local operations, they're still working towards that containment. They're still working towards securing and doing all those things that we've been doing. What it means when we go from the large incident to a smaller incident is weather, terrain, fire activity is decreased, and this large-scale resource is not necessarily needed. Now, if something changes, if there's lightning strikes, if the fire picks back up, we all show back up.
Right. Well, this is incredibly good news, actually.
It is. And it's like I was telling someone the other night, sometimes no news is good news. Mm-hmm. And, when the acreage isn't necessarily changing, but by a few acres, or we don't have any news on, X, Y, and Z. Sometimes that's a good thing, because it means nothing's changed and nothing's increasing, and the fire's kind of just doing what it's doing, and it's kind of sitting still.
Wow. Well, I know I'm breathing easier, and a lot of people in Pine and Strawberry are breathing easier and still, hoping and praying. Can't stop doing that, but this is looking really good.
There's been a lot of effort from the community, from individuals, from all the cooperators, large, small, regional, local, that have really come together to make this a successful operation.
All right. And, of course, the whole thing is, how can we prevent future fires? I think the statistics show that 82% of the fires in Arizona last year were human-caused. Seems to me that, I don't know, and you not necessarily represent, I know we're throwing a lot of questions at you that are not your responsibility or not in your area, but it seems to me we've got to get the word out somehow or other more efficiently to people when the fire danger is high, and be quicker, I think, to not allow campfires and that type of thing. I mean, when you think about it, that anybody can go anywhere in the national forest and start a forest fire. I mean, start a campfire, rather.
Well,
Even if they don't know anything about putting a fire out.
We did start those restrictions quite a while ago, Mike.
I know, but for a lot of times there haven't been. And even when there were, a lot of the people either ignored it or said they didn't know about it.
Yeah, and that's always a problem, controlling people.
Yes, and the human dynamic, as we refer to it, is something that is a challenge no matter where you are. I was talking to someone this morning that he mentioned back in April, in some years, these restrictions have gone into place. And from what I've seen, being from out of the area, there has been a large campaign regarding public education, regarding the Firewise and the Ready, Set, Go and what to do when things happen. And I've seen a very, very large effort trying to get that information out.
And we try to do that at KMOG, and I'm always looking for more help. Tell me, give me some information so I can put it out to the people, say it in a way that they'll really listen.
And it's up to the individual.
Right.
You can give them the information, but it's up to the individual. Are they going to adhere to the restrictions, to the information being given to them?
Oh, that's
okay.
true.
We have a caller. Go ahead. You're on the forum. Hello? Is someone there? Hello, caller? All right. Gosh, they just called. Maybe we didn't get connected right. Call back, 474-2427. One of the things here in our area that has helped a lot, we have groups of volunteers on the weekend that take when the forests are open, they belong to ATV clubs, clubs for off-roaders. They go out kind of looking, keeping their eye on things. When they see an illegal fire, they report it, that type of thing. And that the Forest Service just doesn't have enough personnel to be around enforcing all the time, everywhere in these areas. So I think the volunteers have really helped a lot in keeping those fires from, getting any worse. People still walk away from campfires. It's
amazing.
Unreal, I know, but it still continues to happen. All right, going to take another quick break, and then we'll be back. All right, let's go to the phones. Hello, you're on the forum.
Good morning. I just have one question. It's not basically regarding the fire, but the businesses and the people that have really stepped up and did things like Home Depot was supposed to have, gotten their grills out and made hot dogs and things like that. People who really went above and beyond at their own expense. Are you going to make a list of those people or in the paper or something? Because when this is all over, those are the places that I really I plan on frequenting because, they've stepped up when we needed them. So I definitely, want to do the same. And I was just wondering if there's going to be any, public, so we know who did.
We need to find out about all these places. I mean, we've heard about Walmart making hot dogs for all the people that were in their motorhomes, camped there and everything, and cooked them breakfast and stuff like that. But I've only heard of a few. I know there's a lot more. If anyone wants
Home
to,
Depot, Home Depot, and Walmart.
And I heard that the Pinion Cafe was supposed to have been meals free to people that were being evacuated, and I know a number of the camps, the RV places around here had allowed people to come in at no charge and hook up and things. And I like I said, I just feel people who've contributed to our community are the ones that I really want. I want to make sure that I sponsor and frequent. Not when this is all over.
I think
you know what? That's a
great
idea.
Like
I'll start working on that right away.
Okay.
And the ones that did the gouging, let's bring that out too.
Well, actually, I agree with that. I didn't know whether you could do that.
Well,
but I would really love to know because like I said, this is Maura, by the way, and I've lived here for 26 years, and this community has always stepped up and helped out we help each other. But there's always a couple of bad apples, and I don't know. I'd like to, the good ones, the community-minded people that in the long run they will benefit from their good deeds. So,
Yeah, like several of our restaurants, our Mexican restaurants in particular, had food for the firefighters and evacuees and some of the cafes and all those people need to be thanked.
Also, I know the Quality Inn offered discounts for evacuees, and so did the Budget 8 motel. So they're right up there on the list.
And the Houston Mesa Campground let people camp for free and stuff like that. Yeah, we need to get a list going here, and I know exactly what I need to do.
I'm really happy to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that.
Anybody, please call us with information, because I can't dig too hard. I'm busy.
Yeah, and there are some things that were done that we might not have heard about.
Absolutely.
Too,
Oh, I'm sure there was lots and lots and lots of things that were done that we didn't hear about.
Right.
So just call me and let me know, or send me a text or something.
Good. Glad to hear it.
928-595-1490.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Yeah, this community is just unreal, Pat. It really is. It's just, I've never seen anything quite like it. Somebody gets sick or has a problem, everybody gets together, throws a party, and raises money and helps them out. So it just works out really good here.
And going back to the Dude Fire, we were both here. We had just bought the radio station 6 months before, but the community got together and made all these pies. And that was when firefighters were allowed to have food brought in from
we always
outside.
like food.
I know, but you're not allowed to have a food like that brought in. They tell us.
So, unfortunately, homemade food, no, we're not. We have certain caloric restrictions and needs that we have to be met.
Caloric restrictions too.
Well, when I say caloric restrictions, there's a minimum calorie that we have to be provided. Digging handline is you're burning thousands of calories, and even being on a bulldozer, you're burning thousands of calories.
They need those pies.
Yeah, the pies are good, but our uppers try to make sure that we get all the nutrients that we need. So unfortunately, that's why we're not allowed to receive those. But the shelters, the warming centers, there's people that need those, that would appreciate a home-cooked meal, that there's a need here in the community on a daily basis where folks can contribute to.
For sure, and they do.
That's another one. The homeless shelter here opened up and fed a lot of the evacuees and people.
Right.
Yeah, and all the volunteers that were involved also. Who just spent their time helping down there at the school where the evacuee centers were. The Central Arizona Humane Society. I mean, they worked around the clock helping take care of animals.
That's true. They were taking them all night long, those first few nights of evacuation. And, the Payson Homeless and Homeless Veterans Initiative, the warming center, was offering emergency disaster relief, and they just gave us this brochure, this little flyer, and said they have 50 cots available for those in need affected by the pine and strawberry fire, providing showers, clothing, hygiene, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner with love. And I don't know if they're going to need that anymore, the warming center at Mount Cross Lutheran Church, but if anybody does need assistance still, because most evacuees have gone home, but they take care of so many people, and they have such big hearts.
They do.
It's just incredible.
I've been to the center, and everyone receives one-on-one attention, and if anybody needs anything, they're right there to assist.
Yeah, so for assistance 24 hours a day, you can call them at 928-474-3190, and they say everyone is welcome.
In talking about the caloric intake needed by someone fighting the fire, it brings another point up, and I have a question if I can ask. Do you know, is there some program that is worked out that each firefighter gets a certain amount of food at a certain amount of calorie count? Is that predetermined?
Yes, there is. They're up at the federal level. A lot of testing, a lot of exercise, a lot of things to determine on average how many calories a firefighter is going to expend in an average day. Depending on the year, it's been anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 calories that we have to be provided. And that's done with fruits and vegetables, peanut butter, candy bars, nuts, sandwiches, wraps. It's a varied diet too, and that is spread across breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When we're in base camps that has a food service provider like we do here, we have the option of to-go meals, or we can go to the base camp. For those crews that are out in the field, we have runners that will come to the food provider.
Oh, wow.
Get all the food, run it back out to the line.
And lots of water.
Lots of water, lots of Gatorade, electrolytes. Right now, they're talking about a 2-to-1 ratio. For every 2 bottles of water that we drink, we need to drink 1 Gatorade Powerade sports drink.
Oh, wow.
It is compared to the Southeast, this is a very dry heat. And with crews working that hard, we definitely need to stay hydrated, but we also need to make sure that we get the correct electrolyte content back in our bodies.
Makes sense.
Okay, and that's again makes why you have to not have the public feeding the firefighters, is because it has to be controlled.
And some of our firefighters have dietary needs. Some are diabetic, some have celiac, some have different restrictions in their diets. So when we check in, and part of all the process we go through when we get to a fire, if we have specific dietary needs, we send a message to the food unit leader who says, hey, I can eat this, I have these allergies, I'm diabetic. So they have learned to provide specific meals for certain dietary needs in addition to the overall needs of the crews.
Okay, so it really comes down to, if you want to thank the firefighters, the easiest way to do that is to thank the firefighters.
Correct.
The signs that you have put up around town are fantastic. We're giving away T-shirts that say, thank you, firefighters. I'd like to see everybody in town wearing a T-shirt like that for a while.
We're
Wouldn't that be
starting
fantastic?
production today.
Yeah.
And it means so much to the crews to see that, because sometimes we don't come into camp till 1-2 o'clock in the morning, and to see that and to know the community is happy that we're here, that by itself, it makes us smile. We may be dead tired, we may be sweaty, whatever, but to see that sign and to see the community outpouring is everything to us.
Makes it all worthwhile.
It does.
All right, that says it all, and that's important. Thank you for joining us this morning on the forum. And Pat, thank you so much for being here. I'm sure we'll hear from you. You're going to be on the job here for at least the next week or so, probably.
So I'll be here tomorrow morning, but depending on the fire behavior, I will be moving out as well.
Okay.
So you'll be moving on to a bigger fire that needs you more than we do.
I will probably be going back to Georgia to kind of reset, regroup, pack, take a nap, say hi to my dogs, and get ready for the next event.
Okay.
Right.
And we want to thank you for joining us on the forum, brought to you by Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration, Owens Law Firm, Realty Executives, Arizona Territory, Pinnacle Propane and Alliant Gas, the Banner Health Unit and the Payson Medical Center, and the Dana Law Group. Join us tomorrow, same time, same station, KMOG, Payson.